It's time. Even after our clan was destroyed by the demonic sect, the only reason we struggled to survive was for our revenge. A cloaked figure stood atop a tree, his form hidden in shadow, gaze fixed on the building ahead. Without hesitation, he leapt, landing on the rooftop with quiet precision, then vaulted over the wall like a wraith in motion. A guard stood just outside the building, unaware of the death that approached. From the shadow, two hands emerged, grappling the man's head. In one swift, brutal twist, his neck broke. The body fell, collapsing to the ground. It wouldn't take long before someone noticed the sentry's disappearance. "I'll finish this before that happens," came the quiet voice, cold and resolute. And in an instant, the scene shifted, dark and empty. Silence engulfed the space. In the middle of the stillness, an old man sat in meditation. "It's noisy outside," he muttered, eyes opening, black and red, gleaming with awareness. Before him stood the same cloaked figure. "To think you're peacefully meditating while your subordinates are dying," the figure said with scorn. "You're heartless as usual." "I could say the same about you," the old man replied calmly. Running amok without knowing anything. Then his voice turned distant, reflective. "Do you think a man would care about the insect beneath his feet as he climbs a mountain? No, he only stares at the peak. That is how one reaches the pinnacle of martial arts." "What nonsense. I, King Woon Qian, will kill you with my own hands." And under his breath, a word slipped out, "Heavenly Demon." Blue light began to glow from his hand as he stepped forward. Heavenly Lightning Fist. He lunged. The old man rose, calm, his hand lit with a deep red glow. "Is that all you've got?" he asked. "Watch and learn." The energy he released shot like a ray of light, clashing with the blue fist. The collision shook the ground. Kang Woon Qian's attack broke, his form thrown back, surprise etched on his face. Sword key in his hand, the old man stepped forward. "I'll send you to your father today." But Kang Woon Qian was not finished. Caught off guard, the old man barely managed to react. Heavenly Demon Palm. Their fists collided once more, and this time the old man began to sweat. "My steel tempering makes my fist harder than steel, yet it broke?" Kang Woon Qian's blow struck him straight in the chest, and the old man was flung back. Blood spilled from his mouth as he crashed into the wooden wall. "Don't you dare talk about my father with that dirty mouth of yours," Kang Woon Qian said, voice low with fury. "You haven't forgotten all the evil deeds you've committed, have you?" This is the rage of all those people. On the floor, blood running from his mouth, the old man clutched his chest. "I should have ripped out the roots of the Cloud Dragon sect back then," he muttered. "I don't know what kind of enlightenment you received, but I'm honestly surprised." His eyes widened slightly. "I can't believe you broke through my heavenly demon blood surge art." From within his robe he pulled out a bottle, glowing with an ominous light. Kang Woon Qian's eyes narrowed. "Is that an elixir?" Without a word, the old man downed the contents. The bottle fell, shattering on the ground. Power surged through the space. Dark energy began to emanate from his body, in rage, and his injuries suddenly began to heal. Even the entire area shook. Energy exploded around him, blasting through the room in waves. Kang Woon Qian braced himself, barely able to see his opponent through the sheer force radiating off him. He lunged at him across the space. Kang Woon Qian stood frozen for a breath. But then, suddenly, someone else could be heard. "Barrier," a voice murmurs in the background. Suddenly, a green shield envelops the young assassin, surrounding him just before the elderly man's strike lands. Even he looks surprised as the barrier flickers into place. Then, footsteps echo. A young man enters, cloaked in a cape, a staff in hand. He smiles lazily. "Sorry, I'm a bit late, aren't I? Got caught lazing around." "Great mage," the assassin calls out. "I told you not to call me by that stuffy nickname," the man replies with a calm smile, his eyes dazzling, bright with excitement. "Anyway, is this the nemesis you were talking about?" We then get a glimpse of the young assassin's thoughts once again. He is the one who claims to have come from another world. "If it weren't for him, I would have died hopelessly." Wait, the narrative cracks open, and now another voice rises. "Wasn't this just a regular Murim story? Why the hell did a high-level mage from another world show up out of nowhere?" A young man lounges on a couch, one leg thrown over the table, a book in hand. "I was actually enjoying it too. What a mood killer. Is the author out of his mind? Another world? Out of nowhere? How does that even make sense?" "His name is Jin Si-woon, 23 years of age. Suddenly, his phone buzzes in the corner. "Bro, you up? Let's play." He reads the message with a sigh. Does this bastard not have anyone else to play with? Like many who've completed their service, he had a plan. Before discharge, it all seemed clear. Earn certifications, go back to college, study all he missed in the military. But society had too many temptations, too many fun things waiting. He heads out in response to the message, walking toward a cafe. "I still have a bit of money left. Should I find a part-time job?" He had just left the prison-like routine of service, newly discharged. Yet instead of planning, he lets the day carry him toward a game session with his friend. As a Muram novel fanatic, he'd spent countless hours fantasizing about being the protagonist, learning secret techniques in fictional worlds. "Oh, Seo-woon, is that you?" someone calls as he enters the cafe. "You gonna loyal ground again today?" "Yeah, give me 10 hours for now." He's sunk hours into loyal ground. Even while on leave, he played a little. But after discharge, he took it seriously, and within 3 months, he became a top 10 ranker. "I'm logging in now. Wait in the lobby." He speaks into his headset as he boots up. "I even made some spare change from the occasional internet cafe tournament." The game begins, and a brief introduction is given. 100 players drop into the map. A survival match. Scattered weapons. Hidden ambushes. Only one victor. 120. 2 people, 20 meters from here, he says, eyes flicking across the screen. His friend immediately takes a stance, and then we see gunshots and swift movements. 2 kills in an instant. "Whoa, only 2 left," he says. "Damn, you're loud. You already died once. Why are you still yapping? Let's farm for now. Stay alive. We need the safe zone first," taking us to the last 2 players in the game. We see as they're approaching a building. "Where'd the bastard with the skull mask from earlier go?" he wonders aloud as they move toward the abandoned building. They swing the door open. Loot scattered across the floor. Seeing how the loot is still here, guess he didn't come this way. Relief washes over them as they let their guard down. Then, his teammate's alert vanishes. Silence shrouds over the enclosed space. A notification appears alerting him that his friend is dead. Shoot! He was hiding inside. Panic takes over them in an instant. He turns to run from the room, unaware of where the attack came from. Then he immediately shoots at the man as he tries to run. "Congratulations. You are the last person remaining." He stretches his figure as he lets out a little yawn. "I got carried so hard, bro." "Thanks. I should log off and start studying," he says to his friend. Suddenly, a ping appears as he receives yet another notification. It's a message from his mother. He picks his phone to check the message that reads, "Are you studying well, Seo-woon? I sent your academy fees and some extra money to eat something good. Sorry I can't send more." He types a reply to his mom. "I'm going to sleep soon, Mom," he says as he gets up from the chair to leave. Exiting the cafe, "I feel guilty every time I see my mom's texts. I've been living like this for months now," he mutters. He walks back into his house, drops onto his bed and checks his phone. A headline catches his eye. "People with mysterious powers have been spotted abroad." These people are calling themselves players. What is this? He clicks the link, though he's disappointed as the reply states that the page doesn't exist. Did the video get deleted? A sigh escapes him as from the disappointment. "I'll just go to sleep," he says. Hours pass, and the day breaks. Morning light spills into the room as he wakes up and gets dressed for school. He steps outside, walking on his way to school. His fingers tap at his phone, where he received a message. But then, something shifts. A blinding light surges from behind him. He turns to check what it could be. The brilliance swallows his vision, and confusion strikes him. "What is this light?" he mutters. And just like that, his form vanishes, his backpack falling limp to the ground. And he's gone, no longer in the human world. The space warps into an unfamiliar space. The chapter continues with the thoughts of the protagonist as he is confused with the current situation. He says, "What was that light? Just because my resolve to study is shattered in one day, did I get punished?" As his eyes slowly open, he looks up while lying on the ground, hearing some very confusing words from the people around him. "What the? Why is it so loud?" As he looks up, he sees different people from different races holding up different forms of magic. He is confused. He looks ahead, and he sees people, even holding swords, as though they are preparing to battle. He says, "Why are there so many cosplayers around? Is this a dream?" he wonders. He looks up to the sky after getting up, and just ahead of him, there is a very big stone figure, glaring at the vast number of people in that space. Wondering, he says, "Where am I?" Then he gets a notification. 100 players detected. I'm hearing a voice in my head, he says, and then the statue's eyes suddenly glow very bright as it begins to initialize the system. Language synchronization 100% complete. Suddenly, all the murmurs around him become very clear. He starts to hear what people are saying. They are suddenly speaking Korean. He is very surprised that everybody now speaks his language. Just as Seo-woon takes note of this, the other person in front of him says that they are speaking his language now as well. The system made it possible for each person to be able to hear his own language from others, which is very convenient. And so he looks by the corner, seeing two Murim men, standing as if they are about to face off against each other. "I've been waiting for this day, enemy of our sex," one of them says. "Did you get us into this situation?" he replies in confusion. Seo-woon then looks toward the far end of the corner and sees yet another argument about to play out between two players. And so one unleashes a spell as he glares at his enemy in front of him. "I promise you this, as an archmage, I will kill you here." He releases a lightning attack, calling out his magic spell, and it falls on the player fiercely, though he is shocked to see that his ability took no effect on the player. The player too is astonished and wonders, I took the hit with magic head on, but why didn't I feel anything? They all begin to wonder, what's actually going on? The protagonist looks at them and says, "This is too realistic for a dream." Suddenly he receives another notification in his head, beginning the game. Difficulty: easy. Requirements: get into the top 90 and basically survive. The decided map is Kingdom's capital. The rewards will be awarded to the top 10 rankers in this event. The system also states that in the waiting room, attacks against players are neutralized, and so the protagonist looks at his status window as the map appears in front of him. For those assessing Cloyd survival for the first time, allow me to give a brief explanation. This game will progress for 100 years, and each day the map you play in will get slightly more limited. If you exit the limited map, you may be subjected to great harm. So be careful, he says. This game will continue until there is only one survival left. And if the game finishes or you are eliminated, you will return to your original world. Players who do not make it to the top 90 will not be able to partake in Cloyd survival again. Soon, you will descend to the location you desire with the help of Argus Gaze. You can obtain items at that place and use them to enter the top 90. May luck be with you, he ends. Seo-woon begins to wonder, am I dreaming about loyal ground right now? The whole air around the space is very heavy, and everyone in the space is very confused and even more worried for what is to come. But then the protagonist says, even if this is a dream, I don't want to die. If this is really like the game he's been playing, he'll definitely survive. Though his thoughts are interrupted, and he is called out by someone just beside him. "Hey, messy hair," he says. "Why do you keep looking around? Where are you from?" The protagonist is confused at this sudden question. "Are you ignoring me? I asked where you are from." And then he lets out a little smile as the countdown begins to flow. "Why are you laughing? Are you insane?" And so he says, "Why am I laughing? I'm dreaming such a fun dream, so why won't I laugh?" As he flickers an abusive finger in front of him toward the enemy. Then a green light engulfs them in an instant and they are teleported out of the space. With my knowledge of the game abilities, I can easily defeat bastards like these and survive, he thinks.
Cloyd survival. Day 1 start.
We see as all the characters reappear and are falling from the sky, just as how it happens in game. And they are supposed to land in various locations. He realizes that people would naturally land in crowded areas where there are many items to loot from. As per the game, these crowded areas really do have more items, but he thinks it would be better to start on the outskirts to be safe, and so he takes note of a little hut by the corner, and then he decides to land there. Around there should be good, he say, as he then screams the word, "Descend!" He immediately strikes down to the ground as he looks around, trying to take note of his surroundings. But then he's distorted, and he wonders, is this motion sickness? He immediately faces the door ahead. "For now, let's enter that house," he says. But then he hears another sound just around the corner, a rustle sound. He immediately rushes quickly. Shit! Because of the motion sickness, I couldn't see who else landed with me. But he runs and goes into the house. "If I come across any enemy without having a weapon on me, I'm done for," he says. He quickly shuts the door and sits on the ground. I wonder if that sword-wielding bastard from earlier followed me. Shit, I shouldn't have provoked him. His thoughts are spiraling, and in the moment, he looks out of the window slowly to try and take cognizance of what's happening around the house. Was it just the sound of the wind? He wonders. Luckily, I don't hear any more sounds. As he stands up, "So let's look through the house," he says. He concludes that he needs to get items around the house quickly, and so he begins to walk around as he stumbles upon a crossbow on the floor that almost tripped him over. He takes note that it's a weapon and immediately picks it up. He gets a notification that says, "You have obtained a heavy crossbow." Feeling the immense weight of the crossbow, he says that the crossbow is too heavy, but then he thinks, it's still better than nothing, and so he picks the arrows from the ground as well and equips the crossbow. As soon as he equipped it, the way to use it naturally flowed into his head. For an army sergeant, this is nothing. He fixes the arrow to the crossbow and then takes his stance and immediately shoots the arrow, but the force from the crossbow pushes him back as he falls to the ground. "Whoa," he says in surprise at the sheer ferocity of the attack from the crossbow. "This will be pretty useful if I learn to use it properly," he says. He looked around more, but couldn't find anything useful. As he walks out of the house,
He says,
if you don't run into an enemy at the start, you can safely farm all over. He then enters another building, and just by his corner he takes note of a scroll. He picks it up and notices that he can obtain healing abilities from the scroll. If you rip the scroll, the injuries will be healed. An item that heals your wounds if ripped, he wonders. I should take more recovery items. Though he wishes to find more of them in the area, he looks by the corner and then sees a glowing book on the shelf. As he picks the book, he receives a notification. "You have obtained a martial arts book. It is a martial art that lets you project dark energy through your fingers. Would you like to learn the martial arts technique?" The notification says. He's intrigued by this option. "I can learn this? Will it start a tutorial or something though?" Se-woon accepts to learn it. Then suddenly the light from the book shines through the screen on his face, and the book starts to levitate, flipping through in a flash. Suddenly the book starts to fade away, and he begins to feel the energy seeping into his body from the book. As he wonders, what was that? He looks at his hand as he picks up a fork from the corner and throws the fork at the wall, only to see that it flew like a quick projectile. He is happy and satisfied with this skill, as he has just learned a martial arts skill. The manhwa continues as Se-woon walks up to the wall and yanks the fork out. He smiles, satisfied with the new skill he has just acquired. If there are martial arts books here, then there must be magic books as well. That's his logic. Anyways, still, he's convinced that Cloyd Survival and Loyal Ground, the game he played in the real world, are similar enough in gameplay. He's searched this entire place, so it's time to move elsewhere. The sun had already dawned while he was farming, and now he needs to find a place to hide. Quickly, he notices a building in front of him, its windows faintly glowing with light. It's late at night, so the illumination surprises him. "This is the only house with lights on," he mutters. It could mean one of two things. Either there's a rare item inside, or someone else is there, which is far less comforting. Cautiously, he approaches the house and opens the door, stepping inside with his crossbow at the ready. He doesn't know how many players might have landed nearby, so he has to assume the worst. If someone's here and they left the lights on, they're either a total noob or a total pro. He surveys the first floor. It's only silence as far as the eyes can see, no movements whatsoever. Maybe they're hiding upstairs? "I have a weapon," he says in his thoughts, reassuring himself. If he ambushes whoever it is using his martial arts skill, he might stand a chance, even against a pro. He creeps up the stairs, crossbow raised, but all he finds at the top is a softly glowing lantern. It's just a lantern? He wonders. Is this a trap? He spots a door next to the lantern and, with a swift kick, bursts it open. But the room inside is completely empty. He drops to the ground with a sigh. "Ah, shit. I just put on a whole show by myself." Still, it's a relief that no one was actually there. Curious, he pulls open a drawer by the side and finds a ring. "A ring?" he says. "Is this an item too?" A notification appears. "Ring of Strength. Increases the user's strength by 20 when equipped." He quickly slides it onto his finger, and the ring adjusts perfectly to his hand. A faint essence begins to emanate from it. "What the?" he gasps, as his body suddenly feels significantly lighter. He can barely feel the weight of his crossbow now. With a 20-point increase in strength, it means his stats actually exist now. So he pulls up the status window, and there it is. His stats are pathetic. But still, he smiles as he takes note of his class. "Am I classified as a martial artist because I learned a martial arts skill? That's pretty cool," he says. "I mean, compared to when I started with nothing." Descending the stairs, he decides to search the first floor more thoroughly and finds another ring. Subspace ring allows the user to store items in a subspace when equipped. "I keep getting rings," he murmurs, equipping the second one. To store an item, the instructions say, just touch the ring and think of the word subspace while holding the item. To retrieve it, do the same while picturing the item you want. If the subspace is full, you won't be able to store anything more. Is this like an inventory system? He wonders. I guess they use this instead of bags here. Pretty convenient. He mutters subspace, and the purple subspace appears. Impressed, he stores his healing scroll and notes how much easier this is than lugging around a bag. It'd be nice to have this in real life, he thinks. He stares at the light penetration from the window and reflects. These items, the martial arts, if only I could take them back to reality. He then checks the elimination count. Pulling up the interface, he sees the queue log. Only one person has been eliminated. I was hoping to farm until there were only 90 people left, he says. Guess I'll just stay alive for the night. He was able to search houses and obtain a lot of useful items today. He even found some decent weapons to pair with his martial arts skill. He feels like he's covered all he can in this area. Maybe it's time to move on, or maybe it'd be better to wait until daybreak. He wonders that the strong players from the waiting room are probably prowling the darkness now. With his current level, he doesn't stand a chance against them. But if he stays hidden and survives until the top 10, he can invest his points in good places, just like today. Though he decides there will be fewer people out at night. Let's go to one more place before the sun rises, he decides, stepping back out into the night. Even though I keep moving, he notes, I'm not tired at all. The ring of strength is amazing. Yet even with his strength increased, hunger and thirst still gnaw at him. Maybe Cloyd's survival is closer to reality than he thought. Ugh, I'm hungry. What do? I have nothing to eat. There's gotta be food in the city, right? He checks his map. The city should be nearby, but he doesn't see any houses. Where are they? He wonders. Then suddenly, we hear a low growl behind him. His body freezes. He didn't hear anything before, but now it's unmistakable. A monster is nearby. He dives behind a tree, heart pounding. A wolf? He whispers. No, it's a werewolf, but he doesn't realize another werewolf is right next to him. It spots him and lunges a fierce attack at him. He narrowly dodges the attack, heart racing. He bolts from the area in a full sprint. This was supposed to be a PvP game. He hadn't even considered the possibility of monsters. If he'd known, he would have stayed in the house. Sweat streams down his face as he runs, fear pressing against his chest. He's not even a ranker yet and hasn't made a name for himself. Dying now would be beyond embarrassing. Up ahead is a house, and he immediately rushes in, slamming the door behind him. But the growls follow, louder now. Shit, it's coming this way, he pants, panic creeping in. The light from the window flickers across the floor as he hears heavy footsteps approaching. What do? Peering through a narrow gap, he sees it, a werewolf, its eyes sharp and alert. And so he steadies his aim. Through the gap in the door, he loses an arrow, striking one of them. It drops to the ground instantly, but the second werewolf snarls, eyes locking onto his position. It charges at him instantly. The door splinters under its force, its claw slashes across his face slightly as he stumbles backward. The werewolf lunges. This might be the end. Shit, he yells, raising his crossbow to fire yet another attack, but it's too slow. The werewolf deflects his shot effortlessly with its hand. It leaps at him intently, and he begins to wonder, is this how I get eliminated? But then, his resolve kicks in. Not yet, he growls and immediately yells subspace as he yanks a dagger from the void and throws it at the werewolf with his martial arts skill. The blade flies, piercing the werewolf's belly and tearing it open in an instant. The creature collapses to the ground from the impact. I can't afford to lose to this, he says, standing over the creature's body. It's just a mere underling. The battle ended, and Seo-woon emerged victorious. I thought I was a goner, he said, squatting to the ground. Thank God I had stashed the throwing dagger from before. I thought I would lose to the mobs and fail. How embarrassing. From the corpse of the monster, an item suddenly appeared. He tilted his head. What is this? Is this a mob drop? He said as he reached out to pick it up. Opening it, he found a stash of water and some jerky. Damn it, it was just water and jerky, he muttered, disappointed. I can just hunt for food, man. Though dissatisfied with the reward, he ate it nonetheless. Should I check out the surroundings? He thought, getting up. He wandered around the area, scouting the house nearby. On a table, he spotted a piece of armor. Is it like the bulletproof vest from Loyal Ground? He mumbled, inspecting it as he equipped it. It's kinda big for me, he said, until suddenly the armor adjusted itself to fit his body perfectly. A notification appeared. Advanced breastplate has been equipped. Your resistance against fire and wind magic has increased greatly. Wow, this is awesome, he said, eyes widening. It raised more than just one of my stats. Still, he continued searching. On the ground, something caught his eye. What's this? He muttered, kicking at the earth. He felt it again. Something was there. Is this a hidden item? He wondered aloud. It feels like cloth. Another notification popped up. Night cloak has been equipped. He had found a cloak, one with invisibility. Once equipped, if you remain in darkness, you will blend into it. You will not be detected by magic. and the sounds you make will be completely suppressed. A grin tugged at his lips. He was satisfied. This means I can avoid anybody I come across at night. This is the best item for staying alive. With this, I can stay alive as long as I need. He looked around once more. I was confused about how there was a house in the middle of nowhere, but it was a farming spot, he said. My luck's better on the second day. And so, the night continued. Still walking through the forest, the protagonist thought, I haven't seen anything so far. Could it be because I dropped into a random location? He paused. A faint sound came from just behind him. He froze, listening carefully, then quickly hid. From within the bushes, someone came crashing through, shouting, if only I had the time to use this. An apprentice bastard like that would be nothing to me. Panting, the man leaned against a tree, muttering, to think I would meet a mage here. Watching from behind a tree, the protagonist observed him. He doesn't look strong. If I'm not wrong, I can take care of him. The man tried to walk away slowly. Aiming his weapon, the protagonist hesitated. This is not a person. This is just a game. I should be able to take the shot. Why are you hesitating? Just shoot him. But then, a whisper from behind, escrows flames. Suddenly, fire burst from the man's hand, engulfing the fleeing figure. The man screamed as he caught on fire, his body evaporating into nothing. All that remained was a chest. The protagonist watched silently. There's no corpse, just a chest. This really is a game. Then that has to contain the items he had, right? But where did that fire come from? A shadow passed by. The man who had used the fire magic walked straight past Sia-woon, unable to see him. Someone who couldn't even use magic dared to steal my items, the mage scoffed. Unlucky bastard. If he had just died to my sword, he wouldn't have felt the pain of burning. He walked toward the chest. He didn't see me. He just walked by. Damn, the cloak is awesome, the protagonist thought. Be honored that you died at the hands of me, Chiron, the man said coldly. Shall we check what he dropped? He opened the chest and began looting it. Meanwhile, the protagonist tried to steal his resolve. Someone will kill me and get a higher rank if I don't act. I have to take the shot if I want to survive. An arrow soared from the darkness. Chiron flinched, just in time to summon a shield that blocked it. There's a player nearby, he hissed. It's that bastard's fault. Sia-woon, hidden nearby, took another shot. Chiron's shield held again. Damn, my barrier will break if this keeps up. Are you out there? He screamed. Still seeing no one, he unleashed a fireball, blindly, but hit nothing. Where are you hiding? Stop being a coward and show yourself, he roared. Just then, a dagger whistled through the air, infused with martial power. It shattered his barrier instantly. You bastard! Where are you hiding? He yelled again. Sia-woon, hidden, aimed his attack calmly. A dagger flew, piercing Chiron's head just before he could chant a new spell. He crumpled to the ground, unconscious. Sia-woon approached and hurled another dagger, splattering his head, finishing the job. He blinked, stunned. I won? 2 chests lay before him. He stepped toward them cautiously. If someone sees the fire and follows me, it'll be a problem. He says I better loot fast and get out. He opened them, pulling out everything useful and tossing it into his dimensional portal. Among the loot was a necklace imbued with fire magic and a mana orb containing mana circle. Once used, one can learn the magic of that circle and obtain mana. I can become a mage just like that? He whispered in awe. He recalled the dying man's words. Oh, that's why he said those things. I'm sorry, but I'll put it to good use in your stead. He then quickly gathers the rest of the items. With everything gathered, he ran off. I need to find a place where I can use the mana stone, he says. Soon, he found an empty village. That place looks good, he muttered, stepping into a quiet house. He sat down, placed the mana stone before him, and took a deep breath. A notification appeared. Once you use the mana stone, you will remain motionless for 3 hours. You won't be able to take any other action or use items during that time. You may also feel slight pain as the circle forms. A sharp ache bloomed in his chest. He gritted his teeth. I suppressed the screams that wanted to come out, he thought. I spent the next 3 hours in intense pain. When morning finally arrived, he awoke, drenched in sweat. Learning martial arts was easy, but magic? Oh no, this is crazy. Calling up his status window, he stared in surprise. Mana was now listed among his properties. Looks like I can have 2 jobs at once, he said. Then he paused. Since 2 of them died, the number of survivors should have gone down too. How is that possible? It dropped by so much. We then see that only 45 out of 100 survivors remained in the world map. The name Nam Sagwang appeared as the person responsible for most of the deaths that occurred less than 12 hours ago. Who could that possibly be? He wondered aloud. A few hours earlier, a lone hunter sprinted through the wilderness, fear pounding in his chest. Nam Sagwang was on his tail. He stumbled and fell to the ground, gasping, and cried out, "Top 90! Just let me get into the top 90. Nam Sagwang didn't respond. He simply raised his hand, a dark aura coiling around it, as he stared menacingly at the pleading man that faced him in horror. A moment later, it was over. The hunter's name would be forgotten, but Nam Sagwang's would remain imprinted in the hearts of everyone who takes note of this gruesome event. Without checking the chest left behind, Nam Sagwang vanished into the sky. It is now day 3 at Cloyd Survival. It is now morning, just outside the house. Seo-woon is surprised by the fact that 54 people died in a single night, and takes note that it was Nam Sagwang who murdered all those people. I hope I don't run into this person, he says, but then thinks, wait, if this keeps up, it just might be possible for me to end up in the top 10. Before we started, they announced the reward for people reaching that ranking. I wonder what it would be. My guess is money and items, but what if it's the ability to use the skills and items I've acquired here back in the real world? There's a killer running amok out there, and here I am getting ahead of myself, he says, shaking his head. Seriously, come on. I need to finish up and start moving soon. I definitely feel power coming from within me already, though. He says this as he finishes absorbing the mana stone. Is this mana? He wonders aloud. Right. I think I found a magic book while looting yesterday. He puts his hand into the dimensional portal and pulls out a magic book. The magic book is titled Wind Balls. It creates a sphere using wind. The number of spheres you can create increases with the user's power. I knew it, he says as he holds onto the book. A notification appears. Would you like to use it? He clicks yes, and then the book disintegrates, just like it did earlier with the Muram book. Ah, it's making me learn the magic skill directly in my head. Immediately, he knows what to do in order to activate the skill. Escrow Magic Wind Ball, he says, activating the skill. We see the wind magic release, compressing at his fingertips, forming 4 glowing spheres. Is this all there is? He wonders, disappointed at the outcome. But then he hurls the attack just ahead of him, and turns away in an instant. To his surprise, he feels a massive explosion where the attack hits. He had already assumed it would amount to nothing. But looking back at the destroyed wood, he realizes it could definitely come in handy. Why do I feel so tired all of a sudden? He thinks. We then see his mana has dropped from 30 to 0. It seems the skill consumes a lot of mana. As time passes, the restricted zone begins to appear on the map, and its range gradually shrinks. He decides to go farming while staying near the boundary. His chances of running into another player should be low. After all, half of them are already gone. He tells himself he needs to hurry up and farm more before the restricted zone shrinks further. We then see someone, unknown, watching Seo-woon from a distance as he forges ahead in the world map. The figure seems to be a stealthy old ninja with white hair, perched on a tree, staring intently at him. How interesting, the figure murmurs. He then jumps from the tree, dashing towards Seo-woon. Half a day later. I remember seeing houses around here on the map, Seo-woon says, scanning the surroundings. Suddenly, he spots multiple chests in a singular location, all of them already opened. This surprises him as he wonders, could it be that his luck has run out quickly? Though suddenly he hears a faint sound from behind. As he turns at a sound from behind, he instinctively activates Wind Ball and hurls it toward the source, shattering the door. But no one is there. What? It was just the wind? He mutters. I thought I felt someone's presence. Then, he notices blood splattered across the room where he launched the attack. An injured person? He thinks. They've survived this long, so they must be strong. How about I kill them? Surely they've got some good items. But he shakes his head. Nah, I should prioritize survival. Then he walks out of the space. The view shifts to the perspective of the injured man in the room. He breathes a sigh of relief. Did he leave? He whispers. Thank God I was quick to hide, or else I would have been killed, though I could have taken care of him easily if I weren't injured. He states. He moves to loot the remaining contents in the chest. Well, I should loot quickly and leave, he says. Suddenly, an arrow pierces through his head, killing him instantly. God damn it, he groans, collapsing to the ground, disappearing into oblivion as the light particles fades away from him, leaving only a box behind. We then see that Seo-woon had not actually left. He stayed hidden near a tree, waiting for the perfect moment to snipe. Thanks for coming out so fast, he mutters. I'll farm quickly and move to the edge of the restricted zone. But then, he hears a voice behind him. You seem pretty skilled. He spins around, shocked. I let my guard down, he thinks. An old man with white hair stands there. No need to be so scared, the man says. I just want to ask you a few questions. Who are you? Seo-woon asks, eyes wide. Would you know if I told you? The man replies. We all came from different lives after all. Is that so? Seo-woon asks cautiously. He's different from everyone else I've met so far, he thinks. So, have you participated in this kind of play before? The old man asks. play? What do you mean? I've had my eyes on you for a while, the man says. You've adapted quickly. How did I not notice him? Seo-woon thinks. How long has he been watching me? It's my first time participating in such a physical game, he says aloud. But I've played a similar game in my world. A game? Is it similar to this kind of play? How interesting, the old man muses. He's definitely not from the same world as me. He looks up. Seems like it's gotten dark. Seo-woon looks up too. It's already the third day. Is the moon in your world as big as that? The old man asks. I never noticed, but no. The moon here is bigger. It's smaller in my world too, actually, the old man says. By the way, could you explain the game you mentioned? Seo-woon hesitates, saying that they could be ambushed here if they lay waiting. Maybe we should go somewhere safer then, the old man suggests. But how can I know you won't kill me? Seo-woon asks. In an instant, the old man grabs him. I'm not sure you know it well, but you must not make a sound. He swiftly takes off into the sky, carrying Seo-woon through the air. You don't want to become a target, the old man says. So don't make a sound. Seo-woon is terrified by the speed but manages to stay quiet. They arrive in a secluded place, hidden from view. Oh, the old man exclaims. You play with dolls in a virtual space? Sounds like the world you came from is quite magical. Still shaken, Seo-woon responds. How should I put it? It's a place of highly advanced civilization. Advanced civilization, the old man repeats. Could that explain how you adjusted so quickly? Damn it, Seo-woon thinks. How long has he been watching me? I've been watching you since we were dropped here, the old man confesses. I was planning to enjoy the mountains, but your actions intrigued me. I don't intend to harm you, so there's no need to be cautious. I don't know why we were brought here either, Seo-woon says. But you said you had something similar in your world, the old man continues. Well, that's just a type of game, Seo-woon says. Meant only for fun. People don't die for real in the game. The old man nods. I see, but I'm sure this game will serve as a huge opportunity for someone, Seo-woon says. Opportunity? Yeah, you probably already know. But dying here doesn't mean dying for real. You'll be given a rank and a reward. I believe that rewards might be the items you obtained here. You mean those things you carry? The old man asks. Not just these. Even skills in martial arts, Seo-woon says. Of course, there's no proof yet. But magic is definitely real here. So, this could be an opportunity? The old man repeats. I'm sure you don't need it though, Seo-woon says. But for those struggling in life, these abilities could change everything. And what makes you think my life is without struggles? The old man asks. Well, you seem like a martial arts master. I'm sure you have followers in your world, Seo-woon replies. Someone like me, I'm not of much use. That's why I think this is a huge opportunity. Ha ha, the old man laughs. You say some interesting things, young man. Taken aback, Seo-woon grips the tree branch again. You shouldn't talk so loudly. Lower your voice. By the way, what were you doing with your fingers in the air? The old man asks. Oh, so you don't know how to turn on the map? Seo-woon says, then begins explaining tips and tricks to the old man through the night. Morning arrives quickly, and they finally jump down from the tree. It's already morning, the old man says. Sigh. I feel like this stalker thief elder took too much of my time, the old man kids at Seo-woon. Oh, not at all, Seo-woon replies. Staying with him is probably the safest choice for his gameplay, he thinks. I had fun listening to your stories, the old man says. Is there anything I can do to repay you? Seo-woon responds, almost desperately. Would it be possible for me to learn some of your martial arts? I really want to survive until the end, and I need your help to do that. The old man stares at him intently. I won't say it's impossible, he says. But you must be prepared for the worst. By the worst you mean death, the old man says simply. You must be prepared for death. So, what will it be? He asks Seo-woon. The old man stares at Seo-woon intently and says, to succeed outside the traditional means, paying a hefty price is necessary. Are you prepared for that? Seo-woon looks at the old man, puzzled, and says, But elder, people don't die here though. Ah, you're right, the old man says in realization of the fact. If so, then using that method could be possible, he says to Seo-woon. We see how Seo-woon is excited by this sudden development in the situation. As he says, is there a way for me to get stronger? It would be worth trying at least, the old man says. Seo-woon, excited, then says to him in response, What should I do? The old man then pats Seo-woon's head softly and says, First, let's see how much inner energy you have. He checks his inner energy but suddenly expresses a surprised look as he says, My goodness, your inner energy? It's even less than my house dog. How could this be? He says, surprised. Seo-woon then responds, I told you, in my world, there is no such thing as martial arts or inner energy. Moving forward, the old man instructs Seowon, "For now, sit in the lotus position." And so, Seowon sits on the ground as the old man puts his hand on his head, about to invoke something. He says to Seowon, "You will feel pain akin to death, yet you won't be able to move." Seowon says. "Then what should I do?" The old man responds in a cold, low tone, "Endure it. If you fail to do so, you will die." Seowon takes note that all of his senses are on edge. The wind blowing against his skin feels like sharp blades, and the breath entering his lungs feels like lava. But he endures it, as the old man attempts to wake up his inner energy. As the calmness persists, Seowon says, "I can even hear the sound of the ants crawling in the grass." Suddenly, a sharp pain emanates within Seowon as he looks with just his head, unable to move, just as the old man had said. "Ah!" he shouts, now in immense pain. "Am I going to die?" he exclaims within himself. But then we see, as he is finally able to withstand the pain, even as it is excruciating, and the old man then says, "It's done." Suddenly, Seowon gets his consciousness back. He immediately throws up some fluid from his stomach due to the nausea he sustained. The old man then says, "Seeing how you endured this tells me that your body isn't bad, at least. And you have an innate disposition. Since I fixed the flow of the ki, your body will be different from before." Seowon wipes off the spit from his face and says, "So what should I do now?" The old man says, "You said you want to get strong as quickly as possible." Seowon responds, "Yes." And so he says, "I've pushed your soul a bit away and created an inspiratory gate in that space. People are born to absorb the world's chi solely through breathing. However, now you have another gate to help you absorb special energy, other than just through breathing." Seowon is confused and says to him, "So what's changed?" The old man responds, "People consist of body, mind, and soul. These three are held together by life chi. Then tell me, what happens to that life chi if someone dies? Well, it will disappear, right?" "Wrong," the old man says. "It doesn't disappear. It disperses. The dispersed life ki gets absorbed by nature. The life cycle continues." However, there are those who consider that obvious logical cycle a waste. The evil murderers who absorb others' life chi. But those who have bodies full of others' life chi are in an unstable state, and in the end, the harmony of their yin and yang shatters, causing them to lose their martial arts or die. The mind technique I passed on to you allows you to absorb the scattered life chi like them to increase your inner energy. "So I might really die then?" Seowon questions in response. "You're a bit different," the old man says. "Since, unlike them who reconstructed their veins to create a gate, I used your soul for it. You don't have inner energy, and it's like a blank sheet for you," he says. "Therefore, I've tweaked your veins, allowing you to absorb the life chi harmoniously. Do you now understand why I gave you the mind technique that's forbidden in my sect? Because of this game setting?" "I like how you catch on quick," the old man responds. "I felt it yesterday. The places where people died, there was life chi left behind. The biggest issue of this mind technique is that you can greatly succeed only through murder. In order to survive, if you can eliminate others, at the end of the 100 days, you will have reached an immeasurable level. All right then. It's time for us to part ways," the old man says. "It would be nice to see you again, though." "Wait," Seowon says, "since you've helped me so much, please can you just tell me your name?" "My name is Jang Do-cheon," the old man responds. "Everyone calls me the Deep Valley Standing Kindly. And the mind technique I taught you is called the White Martial Physique Art." "Thank you," Seowon says. "I will never forget this grace." "Of course," the man responds. "Also, get used to breathing deeply by accumulating inner energy through concentrating on your dantian. You will slowly grow stronger." Then he calls out his map, noting how convenient it is. "I will see you again when the opportunity arises," the old man says. "Yes, elder," Seowon responds. And so, the old man jumps off. Seowon watches the old man as he flies off and then says, "He vanished quickly, like a pro. If I could use Qinggong, I'd be able to go around comfortably as well," he wonders. "Let's move to the limited area's outskirts as planned," he says. Being abducted by the elder to the center of the limited area happened in an instant. But walking there took so long, it lasted half a day for Seowon. "The map is bigger than I thought," he says. He then sees another house, light emanating from the window, and then wonders, the lantern is on, even though it is night. Either it's a house with no one inside, or it's a newbie who doesn't know how to turn off the lamp. "Tonight I'm going there," he says, as he swiftly rushes toward the house. He opens the door and looks around. As he realizes that the house is empty, and so he quickly farms items in the house. Though he gets nothing useful, he falls to the ground, shouting, "Ah! There are only useless items here. I can't even get something useful. I came here for nothing," he says. And so he yawns like a child, thinking to himself that he didn't sleep at all yesterday because I talked to the elder all night long. "Let's get some sleep right now," he says, as he falls asleep with the moonlight slightly touching him in its dim glow. And so morning comes, and the bright light shines inside the room. It is Cloyd's survival day 5, and Se-woon is still sleeping on the ground. Suddenly, he begins to hear murmurs rustling around, and the voice wakes him up as he jolts up immediately. This doesn't seem like an empty house, he hears. We see that there is a figure just outside the window, as the light is shining on Se-woon. Se-woon immediately holds his crossbow as he thinks to himself, "Shit! The sun's already high in the sky, and I was still sleeping like a baby." The man opens the door, walking into the room where Se-woon was, thinking to himself that he could finally rest. To his surprise, though, he looks ahead. Seeing Se-woon already standing in position to shoot, he immediately fires an arrow at the man. But he is swiftly able to cut through the arrow. Se-woon then attempts to try his martial arts skill, swiftly. He calls open the subspace in an instant. Then he throws multiple daggers at the man. The man uses his hand to block it immediately, thinking to himself, "Lowly bastard, how dare you use hidden weapons?" And so we see as Se-woon jumps at the man, forcing him to the ground. He falls to the ground, just as Se-woon intended, and then he kicks the man's knife with force, making the man shout. "I was having a nice dream," he says to the man, annoyed. "You woke me up." And so the man screams, pleading for his life, as he screams to Se-woon, saying, "Spare me! I'll do anything. I'll give you everything I have, please. I struggled so hard to survive. I can't die here." But Se-woon doesn't listen to his pleading and immediately stabs him in the center of his head. As he receives a notification, Jin Se-woon, arrow headshot. He was able to end the man's life, as he says to the man, "Neither can I die here." Because if he didn't kill the man would have killed him. Se-woon no longer flinched at the act of killing. In the brutal rhythm of the survival game, it had become routine. He stood over the remains of the fallen opponent, now evaporated, leaving behind only a glowing chest. From it, a strange green energy emanated, swirling with an unnatural pulse. Blood still wet on his hands, he extended his fingers, reaching toward the fading essence. As his hand met the energy, a surge of power coursed through him. A dense wave of strength spread throughout his body, raw, unfiltered, and unmistakably potent. Suddenly, his limbs felt lighter, movement more fluid, and the rush within him was undeniable. The internal energy stat on his interface now read 20 points. Whatever had been left behind in that essence was, indeed, something powerful. Gratitude, if only for a fleeting benefit, formed in his mind toward the old man he met earlier. Even without landing the final blow, this vitality needed to be acquired. As he processed the gain, the screen updated, and he called out Survivor to view the interface. Survivors remaining, 24. He was surprised that the count had dropped drastically to 24 in only one night. Another flicker followed. Survivors remaining, 23. The realization soon struck. One of his earlier attacks had taken effect on the screen. Then he also took note of the name of the killer that appeared, Nam Sang-wong. Elsewhere, a body collapsed onto the cold ground. A name, Nam Sang-wong, escaped the lips of the dying man as his essence dissolved into the air, replaced by a silent chest. Nam Sang-wong, standing nearby, regarded the scene with little emotion. He checked his screen. Survivors remaining, 22. A new name appeared in his log, Jin Se-woon. He realized that he recognized the name from earlier. The name had appeared before on his screen. The scene shifted once again. Se-woon took stock of his situation. His most recent victory had been over a weak opponent, and Nam Sang-wong's kill count was clearly rising. The gap between them was evident. Se-woon made a quiet decision. Before the restricted zone grew tighter, he needed to continue farming, build strength, find loot, and vacate this current area. Upon looting the nearby chest, he was disappointed by what the rewards had to offer. Only a refined potion and scraps. It confirmed his suspicion. Stronger items weren't carried by weak players. Choosing caution, he opted to remain hidden, waiting for the player count to drop further. Days passed. In the dead of night, deep within a forest cloaked in darkness, a group of werewolves growled in hunger. Se-woon dispatched them swiftly. Though the combat yielded nothing valuable, it had only provided food for his sustenance. He collected what he could, mainly werewolf jerky and some water, though he grew even more tired of the jerky's taste. His caution seemed to be paying off. As he hadn't encountered any enemies in recent days, he acknowledged it was due to sticking close to the forest's outskirts. It soon reached Survival Day 12 in Cloyd's survival. Currently, only 20 survivors remained. He approached the border of the restricted zone. Reaching past it, a numbing sensation met his touch. He realized that crossing it would result in complete immobility of every sensation. He checked his kill log, noting that even the name Nam Sang-wong had not been appearing consistently. Even Nam himself appeared to be lying low for now. Suddenly, an explosion thundered in the distance. The cause, though unknown, was definitely violent. Far from the forest, Nam Sang-wong stood surrounded by 9 players. He looked battered, as though he had already taken a serious beating. A coordinated group of players had cornered him. Their intent was clearly to end his reign of terror in the game. Determined, they charged at him. But Nam responded without hesitation. He launched into the air as everyone watched in fear of what could possibly follow. As he descended, his first strike shattered an opponent's face in a single blow. 1. He counted, his expression showing how unfazed he was by their cooperation. Panic erupted among the group, and screams followed. But Nam Sang-wong immediately tore through them, swiftly and ruthlessly. There was no struggle in what was witnessed, only an unaided slaughter. After the commotion, Nam Sang-wong checked his kill log. He had made quick work of the 9 players, and the outcome of the game, unless disrupted, now seemed inevitable. Watching from afar, Se-woon processed the devastation as he watched his kill log drop in haste. 9 players had fallen in one engagement, and he was worried. Nam Sang-wong stood motionless amid the carnage. Blood coated his form. Around him, only chests remained, the remnants of those who had tried and failed. With a low mutter, he turned and began to walk away from the space. He left in search of a nearby valley or stream which could serve to wash away the stains of the just concluded battle. Not too long after, the owls of the night could be heard, and another figure arrived at the scene of the battle. He picked up a staff from the ground, which he recognized to be the staff that belonged to a player named Elizabeth. He was devastated, and with a quiet resolve, he vowed vengeance upon the man who caused it. This man who had already left his mark during the chaos of the tutorial phase. Now, due to this, he re-entered the field with renewed purpose. What remains of Cloyd Survival's count stood at just 11 players. Elsewhere, Se-woon held firm as he took note that he could possibly make it to the top 10. The top 10 was in sight for him, but in light of Nam Sang-wong's actions, he recognized the urgency of securing stronger equipment. Se-woon had arrived at a towering structure, a mansion positioned near the edge of the restricted zone. He realized that it would fall outside the boundary by morning, making it the last opportunity for resources. He approached the door silently, and upon opening it, grandeur met his gaze. He marveled at the luxurious look of the castle before him. It was indeed alluring. He examined a set of armor just around the corner. A notification popped up. Royal Guard armor. Strength required, 110, although his current strength was only 30. Realizing he couldn't equip the armor, he moved on, hoping to acquire something he could use that would fit his current position. A glowing vial caught his eye. Another notification popped up. Elixir of Insight. Increases internal energy. Nearby, a martial arts manual sat open. Secret of the Unbreakable Fist. Though useful, the manual required a long, uninterrupted equipment time, and he couldn't take such a risk in this area. His next step felt somewhat hollow, and staring at the ground, he noticed what seemed to be an entrance to a bunker that caught his attention. Suddenly, an explosion erupted from the rear. The boom echoed through the space. The violent explosion tore through the mansion. Se-woon quickly leapt out through the window, as the force from the explosion propelled him away from the mansion, landing in a thick underbrush. Smoke billowed from the ruins of the mansion. From the shadows, Se-woon watched the destruction unfold, recognizing one of the figures from the waiting room. Amidst the rubble, a figure floated majestically without any support. In his hand, a staff, which we recognized to be Elizabeth's. Nam, on the other hand, stood amidst the rubble, bloodied and winded, facing the figure ahead of him. The man issued a challenge to Nam Sang-wong, intent on vengeance. As they stood in the midst of the flames, words were exchanged, taunts and threats, expressing their intent to kill. And then, silence broke into motion. A never-before-seen confrontation ensued between the two furious players, in the midst of the commotion. From a distance, Se-woon remained hidden in the bushes, his eyes locked on the two figures. He took note that, as he watched the raging battle, the name he had seen on multiple counts was only a mere youth. The entire forest held its breath at this realization. The scene returns back to Nam Sang-wong and the magician as they continue to hurl insults at each other, exclaiming to themselves, "Let us see how long you can keep flapping that mouth of yours." The magician begins to cast a spell that summons aggressive thunderclaps, creating lightning from the sky that descends on his staff. He calls out, "Escrow, cast lightning!" And then he screams in a loud voice, "Strike!" Thunder begins to fall from the sky, attacking Nam Sang-wong. Nam Sang-wong, though, is ever agile, dodging and swiftly weaving out of the attacks. The magician shouts in response, "How long are you just going to keep dodging like that? Try attacking like you did." But Nam Sang-wong pays little to no attention to the words of the magician, focusing solely on dodging his attacks as swiftly as possible to avoid any more damage. He thinks to himself that this magician is no joke. He has never seen anything like this, even in the Central Plains, which is where he is from. His power is truly a very terrifying power. The magician grits his teeth, exclaiming to Nam Sang-wong, calling him a rat-like bastard as he chants another spell, even more massive than his previous attack, holding the massive energy within. As he hurls the spell, he exclaims that he will finish Nam Sang-wong with this attack. He then casts a lightning storm at him in a flash. Nam Sang-wong, looking almost pale, with blood covering half his face, is terrified at this attack. Though yet again, he is able to dodge, his agility seeming almost effortless. Then, in a haste, Nam Sang-wong jumps ahead, leaping towards the magician. The magician is taken aback as he looks at Nam Sang-wong, reaching out to him in the air, flying towards him. Nam Sang-wong was almost an inch away from the magician, about to use his regular signature move with the palm of his hand, engulfed in the blue essence of his craft. Then the magician exclaimed once more as he states that that skill is not enough to break his barrier. And then, with a swift strike from his staff, he slices through Nam Sang-wong, killing him in an instant. Or so he thought. The figure in front of the magician dispersed, leaving the magician puzzled at the realization. The version of Nam Sang-wong he was currently facing was actually an illusion, realizing that Nam Sang-wong created an after-image of himself. The scene shifts away from this rubble space. Just in the distance, Seo-woon, watching the rubble scene, is amazed and surprised as well at Nam Sang-wong's prowess. "It's raining," he says. "Is the magic the cause of this rain? This is truly an incredible power," he says. The power that overwhelmed Nam Sang-wong is so strong that it's even affecting the weather. We see as the magician is devastated that he couldn't take down Nam Sang-wong as he had wished. And so he expresses that, since he can't sense Nam Sang-wong with his detection skill, he must have already fled far away. And so in a rage, he shouts out the name Nam Sang-wong, saying that he will definitely catch him, and all that would follow for him is death. The scene then takes us to a pitiful sight of Nam Sang-wong fleeing from the scene of the fight. He is gasping for breath as he hurls insults at Escrow. "That spellcasting bastard. I got ambushed this time. But next time, I absolutely won't let it slide. I will kill you with my own hands." First though, he resolves that he needs to retreat and recover from his injuries. The magician's name is Escrow. He descended to the ground as he was and disappeared after briefly surveying the surrounding area. Seo-woon's cover still remains unseen. The reason Seo-woon wasn't caught hiding in the bush must be because of the cloak of invisibility that he had equipped. He survived yet another day like this. As he begins to gather himself, he resolves that Escrow and Nam Sang-wong probably won't come here for a while. And so he goes back into the rubbles of the just concluded fight in order to find the entrance door that he stumbled upon before the explosion, before the entire commotion began. Even with the entire commotion that took place, he luckily found the entrance that he was searching for. Excited, he began to think to himself, could it be a vault or something where they keep important things? Or maybe it's a dungeon, where they have hidden treasure. He opens the hole. Looking inside, he saw a vast, unending dark staircase. It looks quite deep, he notes, though he resolves to go in for now, saying to himself that it doesn't look like anyone else has been in this space. And so, using his old torch, he gently goes down the dark stairway. He is glad that he grabbed the torch from the house that he had farmed in earlier. He hangs the torch by a torch rack and examines the entire space underneath the room. He takes note that it is just a food storage room. If there's nothing but food, that would be awesome, he thinks. He notes that he didn't have many places left to farm in the mansion, due to the chaos that just ended. But he then realizes that this is actually a very good opportunity for him to eat some food, as his stomach then begins to rumble, reminding him that all he has eaten for the past couple of days is tasteless jerky. 1 hour later, we see Seo-woon resting on the ground, as he had just finished eating a lumptious meal. It would have been perfect with just some white rice, he says. Still though, he admits that he has not had enough food for the past couple of days. And so beggars can't be choosers, he sighs. Since he has tried all that he wanted to eat and he is full, he wonders if it's okay to try taking the elixir he got earlier now. He pulls out the martial arts book from his portal, and a notification pops up, Book of Unbreakable Fists. A fist-fighting technique created in his later years by a man named Man Paiga. The man devoted his life's experience in martial arts to creating a fist technique that would be unbreakable and would never lose. But with a record of 1429 wins and 1429 losses, he was ridiculed his entire life, and the martial arts died out because he had no disciples. We see as Seo-woon holds onto the book, wondering to himself, why did I have to pick up something like this? Still though, B resolves that it's better than not learning it at all. He puts the book back into his inventory subspace and decides to put off practicing the martial arts. Rather, he decides to drink the elixir first. Considering the pain he felt when activating the circle stone, it was worth hesitating to take the elixir. But he decides to take it nonetheless. He was already on the verge of succeeding in this game, Cloyd Survival. Only thinking about getting stronger, he unhesitatingly gulped down the elixir. A shock glared on his face as he stared. He could feel a changing sensation. Thinking to himself that mana is flowing up in his lower abdomen, and it's nothing compared to the amount he had absorbed earlier. Suddenly, his body felt stiff, it felt like his energy was going crazy, and his movements became sluggish. As expected though, because he knew he wouldn't move for the next 3 hours upon the use of the elixir. And so he waits 3 more hours in the current space. After a while, he felt a bit more relaxed, wondering if it is over. He lays on the ground. Staying still for 3 hours is freaking exhausting, he says. He's been hiding in the forest all week. And today, it was the Great Mage, and even Nam Sang Wang, who he met but he was lucky enough to escape them. He turns around and slowly falls asleep to gather some well-needed energy through the night. The next day comes, and it is now Cloyd Survival Day 13. Seo-woon wakes up and comes out of the hole in a haste because the space for the dungeon map would reduce soon. On leaving the hole, he took note that the restricted area had shrunk so far in just a couple of hours. He almost got caught right in the restricted area. He calls out his kill log and takes note of something, saying, someone else got eliminated in the middle of the night. To his shock, he realizes that it is his teacher, the old man he met recently, who had committed suicide in the game. But between me and you, I think this is definitely plot armor, if you know what I mean. He begins to wonder, how did the old man end up like this? Could it be that, believing there was no risk in the game, he chose to attempt some ridiculous training method? There's no other reason he would have taken his own life, he says. He takes a breather and then mutters that, it does feels good to be in the top 10 though, but he's sad that it had to be like this. And so the restricted area slowly takes the cloak of Seo-woon. He takes note that the map is already shrinking, and decides to keep moving. He refuses to get eliminated by getting caught in the restricted area. He begins to move as he needs to get out of this current area quickly. For now, he plans to hold out as long as possible without engaging in any physical combat. We then see that Seo-woon is running through the forest, trying to escape from the closing restricted area in the map. He starts analyzing the situation. The only way a powerless person like him can climb the rank is to escape the eyes of the powerful people around. Suddenly, he takes note of an attack that was coming from the rear. A massive fire explosion engulfed the space where he was running through. What the? He exclaims. Where did that come from? As he stares, to find out who could have possibly hurled such an attack, worry begins to engulf his being, because though he managed to dodge the attack, it was extremely powerful. And he wonders, could it be Escrow, who just faced Nam Sang Wang? He looks ahead and sees, truly, it is Escrow holding out his hand. The perspective shifts to Escrow, who thought that he was attacking Nam Sang Wang, whom he had been looking for in the vast forest. Escrow speaks. What? Who is it? Yes, something definitely triggered my item detection spell. So he had naturally assumed that it was Nam Sang Wang, but to his surprise, it's a face he has never seen before. Shockingly, he stares at Seo-woon. Seo-woon realizes that he got distracted by moving quickly with his newfound inner energy, and neglected his surroundings like an idiot. Nam Sang Wang is still on the loose, and Escrow the magician says, by any chance, do you know where a guy named Nam Sang Wang is? Referring the question to Seo-woon as he stares at him intently. We then see that Nam Sang Wang is hiding just behind a tree, behind where the magician and Seo-woon spoke. The magician repeats himself, if you don't know, then you will have to die here. The scene continues, and we see as Nam Sang Wang is smiling, as he hides behind the tree with the intention to ambush the person after him. The sequence continues, and Escrow stood before Seo-woon, voice sharp with menace. The only way you live, he said, is by telling me where Nam Sang Wang is. Otherwise, I'll have no choice but to kill you. Keeping you alive is only but a nuisance. Seo-woon's eyes narrowed. What are you even saying right now? You're just seeing me this instant. How would I know that? He replied, though his gaze shifted behind Escrow as he saw a figure appearing from the sky, confirmed to be Nam Sang Wang, who was already approaching the space, with an intention to ambush Escrow while he's distracted. Escrow's voice came like a blade against Seo-woon. You just looked like you were from the same place as Nam Sang Wang. Very well then, if not, then just die. Without warning, Sang Wang struck. His attack landed cleanly, breaking through Escrow's defense and taking him by surprise. As Escrow turned, stunned by the ambush, Sang Wang grinned at Escrow, smugly and mischievously. I am fully recovered, he said. Aren't you running low on mana? Seoun stood frozen, watching it all unfold. Where did Sangwon come from again? He thought. Sangwon pressed the assault, destroying Escrow's shield. But Escrow scoffed in response, saying, "A simple attack like that can't hurt me." Though he was wrong. As opposed to what he said, the attack pierced through his barrier. With that same smug grin, Sangwon leaned closer. "Ever heard of Gengi?" he said. "It's a martial art only a few have mastered. I didn't think I'd need to use it here. You're the first that'll witness it. Consider it an honor, Archmage." His hand, empowered by the technique flowing in its blue essence, pierced through Escrow's throat in one clean motion. Blood gushed and spread through the surrounding area. Sangwon then pulled his hand free, as his ambush worked well. In shock, Escrow clutched at his ruined neck, kneeling to the ground and unable to speak. "Now you won't be casting those annoying spells of yours," Sangwon said coldly. "A man like you could have made it to the top 5. It's a shame you met me." Seoun, watching from the corner, trembled. "Is this my luck?" He wondered. Should I be grateful Sangwon showed up? But he knew better than to linger. "I need to get out of here. Fast." Sangwon turned to the writhing Escrow. "Just die already." He immediately dealt another strike at Escrow, right on his chest. Escrow howled in pain. Then, just by the corner, Seoun's fear was replaced with a newfound resolve. The once untouchable Archmage Escrow was crumbling before Nam Sangwon. And then, a strange realization struck him. A single thought, powerful and overwhelming of any fear. A thought that overshadowed even the fear of Sangwon himself. He began to wonder, if he stuck around and managed to collect the chi essence from Escrow, he would definitely grow more powerful in the game. Sangwon stood above Escrow's pitiful form, the Archmage dissolving into the abyss of the game. Sangwon sneered. "Where's the confidence from yesterday? Now look at you, half a corpse. Got any last words?" "Oh wait, you can't speak." But Escrow had one last trick. A faint voice echoed in Sangwon's mind as Escrow begins to speak through telepathy. "Elizabeth, the one you killed, was my most cherished disciple." Sangwon blinked, realizing the words were telepathic. "She was cast out of the academy for being a girl. I should have stopped her. I regretted it every day." "A girl?" Sangwon scoffed. "Then she must have looked like a man. No way I wouldn't have noticed." Escrow's mental voice continued, sounding more mischievous now. "Time to shut that filthy mouth of yours." Sangwon flinched. "What did you say?" Even Seoun felt it, the shift in the air. Ominous and deadly, the skies suddenly cracked open and the clouds parted. A meteor, colossal and burning in nature, began to descend into the scene slowly. Shibaku Tensai. Seoun stared, eyes widened. What? What is that? It was Escrow's final spell. A forbidden art. A mage's last resort. Armageddon. Sangwon's face twisted in disbelief. "You can't cast spells in this state. You can even speak." "How the hell?" Escrow's voice answered. "From all my mana and life force, this is my final spell." The meteor plunged. Sangwon immediately turned, bolting. "You crazy bastard!" he yelled. Seoun turned as well and ran too from a distance, cursing under his breath. "I should have run sooner." As the meteor struck, Escrow faded into ash. "Elizabeth, it was good to see you again. I hope we meet once more." Escrow withers, leaving behind only but a chest. The impact shattered the forest space, obliterating any form of life in sight. And silence followed. Then, from a distance, another figure emerged, perched on a tree, an elf, skin dark as twilight. He watched the destruction, murmuring. To cast magic of that level, it could only be him. The wind settled and we witnessed Seoun in a bloodied state, as he attempts to move gently on the ground. All that, just for some damn life force, he thought. He reached into his subspace and pulled out a scroll. "I should have run faster," he continues. He tore the scroll open, healing his wounds, but it wasn't enough. "If I hadn't taken that elixir earlier, I'd be dead," he says. He uses more of the scrolls and attempts to heal his injuries. Though the pain still lingered, one scroll's not enough for the wounds he sustained. He used them all. Finally able to stand, he took a deep breath. Phew, finally. He summoned his survival log and noticed something odd. Sangwon defeated Escrow, but there's no death log for Sangwon. He had expected him to disperse alongside Escrow because of how close he was to the attack. Confused though, he heard a voice. Weak and struggling, "Save me." Seoun followed it, cautiously. The voice repeats again. "Please, anyone there?" There he was, Nam Sangwon. Bloodied. No hands. No legs. With only but a scroll clenched between his teeth. "I can't die like this," he muttered. Seoun observed in silence. Surviving a meteor like that must have been tough. but without arms or even legs, he can't use the scroll. Sangwon noticed him. "Hey, you there, tear this for me." Seowon stepped closer. "You're Nam Sangwon, right?" Sangwon's eyes widened in shock as Seowon recognized him. "I always wondered," Seowon continued. "Every time you popped up in my kill log, what kind of items made you so strong? I thought you'd win this game, but now standing over you here, look at you, pitiful." With a flick, he used his wind skill to knock the scroll from Sangwon's mouth. Sangwon gritted his teeth. "Help me, and I'll make you the winner. I can do that." "You think you'll win on your own?" Seowon said nothing. Instead, he opened his subspace and pulled out a longsword. As he stands over Nam Sangwon, all he could think of was this. If he takes all his life force and items now, he will definitely become the Lubu of this game. The blade rose above his head. "No, wait!" Sangwon screamed. "You don't know how many stronger ones are still out there. I barely have any items. My martial arts is all I possess here, and I didn't even learn it from here." Seowon looked him in the eye. "You should at least know the name of the one who's killing you." "I'm Jin Seowon," Sangwon gasped. "Jin Seo." His words never finished. Seowon didn't allow his words to end. He immediately dealt the finishing blow, swift and brutal. Moments later, Seowon sighed. "Why'd he have to look so damn young? Makes a guy feel guilty." Then, the energy. It began to flow, surging from Sangwon's corpse into him. Such overwhelming energy, it was unstoppable. "Incredible," Seowon whispered. "That bastard." He was basically a human elixir. Immense, raw power flooded into him. Then across the just concluded battlefield, others began to rise. The death of Nam Sangwon changed everything. There were 8 survivors left out of the original 100. And with Sangwon gone, hope returned to the shadows. From the trees, one man stood coldly as he muttered, "Now that the tiger is dead, the foxes will begin to run rampant." Well, let the games begin. The scene unfolds once again with Jin Seowon. The forest is quiet, heavy with the lingering scent of battle and the fading embers of life. Seowon stands alone, his breath steady, as the faint glow of essence swirls around him. He is absorbing the internal energy of Nam Sangwon, whose essence flows faintly into the energy bank of Seowon. A deep breath escapes him. That's a tremendous amount of internal energy, he thinks, his gaze narrowing slightly. With this much, maybe I really can stand against anyone now. His eyes fall to the ground. There, just in front of him, rests a worn box. It catches a glimmer of moonlight, and Seowon steps forward, stretching a hand toward it with mild curiosity. To hold this much internal energy, he must have been stronger than he let on, he mutters. Surely he didn't really do zero farming, did he? That'd be disappointing. He opens the box. A sharp light bursts outward, illuminating his face with a pale, ethereal glow. He leans in, squinting slightly, and there, nestled within, is a collection of rings. Dozens of them, each radiating a distinct aura, each crafted with rare energy. His lips part slightly in surprise. Different stat enhancers. "Absolutely OP," he murmurs, slipping them onto his fingers one by one. He was extremely shocked by this unexpected scene. This bastard only farmed rare items, didn't he? And then he talked like he wasn't relying on anything. What a jerk. He checks his own stats, and the results nearly make him whistle. His abilities have skyrocketed. His body hums with new power. Victory feels inevitable. His attention drifts back to the box. Alongside the rings lie several martial arts manuals, ornate, old, and sealed with complex scripts. He flips through them briefly, but disappointment creeps in. They're beyond him for now. Prerequisites he hasn't yet met. Techniques requiring a refined internal cultivation he hasn't completed. Still, there's no time to dwell. He steps away from the site, turning quietly, only to stop. Wait, something shifts in the air. A faint disturbance. And then, escrow corpse fire. A burst of flames lashes out from behind, but the fire fizzles harmlessly against his back. Seowon turns slowly, gaze calm, expression unreadable. "You really shouldn't be this clueless while farming." A figure steps out from the shadows, smug. "If you fell for a surprise attack like that, then maybe taking down Nam Sangwon was pure luck." Seowon looks him over lazily. "What is it?" he asks. The attacker recoils slightly. You're fine?" he stammers. After that spell, Seowon tilts his head. "I thought I saw a flash," he says dryly. "Turns out it was just you." His magic resistance, now sitting at 90, has rendered the spell useless. He begins walking forward, calm. "Unhurried, don't come closer," the man warns, panic creeping into his voice. "I'll cast something stronger." Seowon interrupts, his voice quiet but cutting. "Why bother? It won't work." The man casts another spell, but again, nothing. Not even a scratch. Seowon lifts his arm, activates his Peerless Fist technique, and releases a blow laced with killing intent. A dull crack splits the air and the man's body is hurled backward, smashing into a tree. Blood spills from his mouth in shock from the attack. But suddenly he begins to fade, his life extinguished. Another player gone. Seo-woon stares at his hand in quiet awe. I didn't expect much from that technique, he thinks. But maybe martial arts really do change depending on the amount of internal energy behind them. A new notification flickers before his eyes. Another opponent defeated. He walks over, absorbs the residual internal energy, then lifts his gaze. Now that Nam Sang-wong is dead, all the ones who are watching from the shadows are crawling out. A breeze stirs the leaves. Tonight's going to be a long night, he murmurs, and with a single leap he vanishes from the spot, gliding through the trees with growing confidence. His steps feel lighter now. He can almost imitate the elder's lightness skill. He smiles softly, thankful. But the peace doesn't last. Later that evening, Seo-woon sits in the calm of the night. Perched upon a tree, gazing at the field, he suddenly hears a voice yelling from the forest depths, loud and crude. Hey! Jin Seo-woon. Don't hide. Come out and play. Seo-woon pauses, eyebrows furrowing. Someone's really shouting in the middle of the night? The voice continues, agitated and bold. Jaehark was a pretty useful mage, you know. If you're not a coward, come fight like a man. You bastards. Where are all of you hiding? The man's rage-filled call rings out. Then, thwip! An arrow streaks through the darkness, aimed straight for him. The warrior swings his heavy sword, deflecting it just in time. A sneak attack, he roars. Fight fair, coward. The energy in the forest shifts and a silence falls. Then the voice below mutters, only one person can imbue an arrow with this much aura. He looks up. There, standing atop a tree, stood a figure cloaked in shadow and moonlight. Juro Kuana, the man breathes. Do you know me? The archer replies, calm and disinterested. I don't, the man answers. But your divine archer skills has told many stories. Every mercenary knows that name, he says. He continues, if you want to win this game, we should team up. Let's take down Jin Seo-woon first. Juro Kuana lands gracefully on the ground. This is the only way to save ourselves, he says. The man views him sternly. You have good judgment, I see. I'm a warrior. Name's Stenko. I work as a mercenary. You may not believe it, but I'm well known in my guild. Juro doesn't respond. He only just listens. They say he's a divine archer, but maybe his brain's shallow, Stenko mocks inwardly. Juro glances at his hand, calm and measuring. He wonders if he may have misjudged something, maybe, though his tone distant. Stenko scoffs. An archer shouldn't give up his distance in a fight. Then suddenly, he lifts his sword, stepping in for an attack against the archer. But before the blade can fall, crack! An arrow immediately pierces Stenko's forehead, and his body collapses, dissolving into light. Juro turns away. Cooperate with trash like you? He scoffs. Even a stray dog would laugh. From above, Seo-woon drops down to the ground gracefully. As Juro walks off, he mutters to himself, wasted too much time. I need to find Jin Seo-woon quickly. Seo-woon remains hidden, watching over the just concluded battle. Only 6 players left, he counts. Everyone's vitality matters now. He absorbs Stenko's internal energy quietly, but as he does, Juro suddenly glances over his shoulder, his eyes brushing the shadows where Seo-woon lurks. Seo-woon freezes. Huh. He saw me? His cloak had always hidden him well, but now his thoughts spiraled. Was I careless? Is the cloak actually detectable? His mind races. Then Juro mutters, dismissive. Nah, that guy probably had trash items anyway. It'd just be a burden. And he walks on. Seo-woon exhales and collapses quietly to the ground, his shirt loosening slightly. The cold air brushes his stomach. He's got good instincts, he admits. He said his name was Juro Kuana. He stares into the darkness. I guess that'll be my next opponent, but I'm glad I didn't have to face him just now. The forest settles again, briefly, before the night resumes its quiet, deadly game. Time passed, steadily, like the trickle of sand through an hourglass. And with each passing moment, the accessible area within the game shrank further and further, enclosing the remaining players in an invisible grip. The restricted zones seemed to pulse with urgency, its pace quickening unnaturally, almost as if it responded to the dwindling number of survivors. Seo-woon ran through the darkened woods, his breathing quiet but strained. The forest around him drowned in silence save for the soft crunch of twigs underfoot. Shadows stretched long under the sliver of moonlight as he moved with purpose, though the weight of his thoughts slowed his heart. There were only 6 survivors left now, and still, 87 days remained. He had begun to suspect something unsettling. The more survivors died, the faster the world around him closed in. The game, it was adapting. Before him, a wide-open area suddenly appeared, clearing out from the dense cluster of trees like an invitation or a trap. Seo-woon halted at the edge, his eyes narrowing. If he were to encounter an enemy here, it would be impossible to fight without attracting attention from whatever unseen eyes govern this place. Still, he stepped forward. And then, a sharp whistle through the air. Projectiles, slicing the wind with fierce precision, came down upon him in an instant. What's that sound? Seo-woon barely had time to think before instinct took over. He darted aside, narrowly avoiding a lethal rain of magic that tore into the earth where he once stood. His heart pounded. That wasn't random. That was a spell. It had been precise, deliberate. But how? He wore his cloak of invisibility, a high-grade item that concealed both his presence and energy signature. No one should have been able to detect him. Then once again, the attacks came. Just above his head, a faint green glow shimmered across the sky. Another one, he muttered under his breath. The second wave was already upon him. More projectiles. Faster and deadlier, there was no room to run. No time to dodge. And so his gaze sharpened. If it's come to this, then so be it. Steeling himself, he pressed his feet into the ground and whispered an ancient name. Muju Quan. Chapter 1. Extreme Straight Punch. With a burst of internal energy, his fist flashed upward. A radiant force surged forth, colliding mid-air with the incoming beams of light, and shattered them apart like glass under a hammer. The forest stood still. Even Seo-woon blinked at his own strength. I might be stronger than I thought, he whispered to himself, staring at his trembling hand. Without hesitation, he leapt into the air. His cloak fluttered, and from above he scanned the clearing, eyes searching through the trees. Then, he saw it, behind the bark of a thick pine, a silhouette hunched, still and silent. So that's where you are. At the same moment, the hidden attacker looked up and spotted Seo-woon mid-air. His eyes widened. What is he? That was a spell I poured every ounce of mana into, and he dispelled it like it was nothing? And then suddenly, a scream. A sharp blade sliced through the magician's abdomen. Blood sprayed like ink from a broken pen. He staggered, eyes wild with confusion. What? How? He gasped. Behind him stood another figure, cloaked and calm. A short sword, freshly bloodied in hand. You should have saved some mana for detection, or maybe a barrier, the assassin said smoothly. For someone like me, erasing presence is child's play, and it's not your lucky day. With a soft grunt, the mage collapsed, his essence dispersing into particles, leaving only the memory of his fear behind. Now only 5 players remained. Seo-woon descended quietly, landing beside the assassin who wore a half-smile. So you must be Jin Seo-woon, he said casually. His voice was level, but his stance was anything but relaxed. Seo-woon's gaze hardened. And you're the one who just killed him. How do you know me? The assassin chuckled. The one who eliminated Nam Sang-wong, a public enemy? Of course I know you. At this point, everyone's probably hunting you down. Seo-woon narrowed his eyes. Don't waste your breath. The assassin twirled his blade once, amused. Just offering you a peaceful way out. I've never missed a target before. Then he lunged. Steel met steel as the air sparked with tension. You're too slow, the assassin barked, slicing across Seo-woon's arm with inhuman speed. Seo-woon winced as his blood trickled down, but the damage is shallow. Thank the heavens. If not for his internal energy shielding him, that strike would have ended him. This guy's strong, Seo-woon admitted internally. It continued. You're going to die here, Seo-woon, the assassin whispered. I've never failed in the dark. Darkness. That word clicked. Wait, darkness? Suddenly, the assassin vanished into the shadow, his signature skill, undetectable in the pitch black. Seo-woon felt the air behind him shift as the assassin suddenly appeared next to him. But he too disappeared in an instant. What? The assassin snarled, looking around. Your stealth is decent, came Seo-woon's calm voice, but compared to this cloak, it's definitely inferior. Panic spread across the assassin's face. Where are you? Show yourself. A hand gripped his wrist suddenly, bending it upward at a painful angle. I can track your movements, Seo-woon whispered into his ear. Your energy is loud, even in the dark. A shocked gasp escaped the assassin. You, behind me, coward, Seo-woon then said, mockingly. You said you'd finish me. Where's that confidence now? In one motion, Seo-woon slammed the assassin mid-air and crushed his spine underfoot. This rendered the player immobile, and he inevitably dispersed as well. Breathing deeply, Seo-woon pulled at his collar and stood tall. His hands pulsed as he absorbed all the energy surging from what they left behind. He looted swiftly as he tried not to linger any longer. From the assassin's possessions, he found a peculiar scroll. Spirit-building illusion step. Create energy clones proportional to your internal strength. He accepted the prompt instantly as the book dissolved as it usually would. Good thing he didn't know how to use internal energy, Seo-woon muttered. This could have ended badly otherwise. He continued sorting through the loot. In the dead magician's box, he found another skill, Carmen's Eye, a detection spell of the highest grade, capable of seeing through any stealth. Unfortunately, his magic circle was too low. He sighed. Maybe someday. Just then, a sudden whiz cut through the scene. An arrow screamed past, grazing his cheek. Blood trickled down as he spun around. Could it be the archer? Another attack, this one shimmering with ice. Two at once? Seo-woon deflected the strike with a charged punch. Ice shattered in mid-air. It was not an ordinary attack. And definitely, they are not alone. He turned, and another figure was now behind him. Sword drawn, sunlight-like aura blazing. This man resembled a mythical hero, muscular, radiant, overwhelming. Escanor? No, just a replica of him. Before he could recover, he was surrounded. Three figures, all eyes locked on him. The swordsman stepped forward. Your luck ends here. Seo-woon's breath slowed and he clenched his fists. Ah, shit. 3 remaining players, and all of them had come for him. Ordinary Jin Seo-woon, alone in the middle of them all. Would he survive? Would he win? The wind whispered around him, gentle, eerie, like the calm before a storm. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into this interesting storylines, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update from Lulan. If you got a manhwa or manga recommendation, drop it in the comments. I'm always hunting for the next big series. Alright guys, keep reading, keep discovering, and stay legendary. See you next time.